The math no longer adds up. Look around you. It is early 2026, and the American dream is being fundamentally restructured right under your nose. While the headlines distract you with political theater and celebrity noise, a quiet, brutal divide is forming. The middle class is being systematically siphoned into two distinct groups: the small minority who own the future and the vast majority who are unknowingly financing it. Most people will tell you they're struggling because of the economy or because the system is rigged. But here is the brutal reality that 99% of people are too afraid to face. You aren't broke because you don't make enough money. You aren't stuck because you didn't get lucky. You are broke because you are being hunted by a multi-billion-dollar consumerist machine designed to keep your bank account at zero until the day you die. Every single day, you are making micro decisions that act as a death by 1,000 cuts to your financial legacy. You are being programmed to buy liabilities that masquerade as assets. In this high-inflation, high-volatility 2026 landscape, looking successful is the most efficient way to ensure you never actually become wealthy. At Prosperity Prism, we don't care about the brand of your car or the label on your sleeve. We care about the one metric that actually grants you freedom: net equity. Today, we are stripping away the illusions. We are exposing the 5 specific categories of financial trash that are currently hemorrhaging your wealth. These aren't just bad habits. They are wealth traps specifically engineered to transfer money from your pocket to the balance sheets of the top 1%. If you cannot stop buying these 5 things, you have already lost the economic war of this decade. This is not a video about saving pennies. This is a masterclass in survival. We are going to show you how to stop being the fuel for someone else's fire and start building a fortress of your own. The question is simple. Do you want to act rich for an audience of strangers, or do you want to be wealthy for your family's future? Because in 2026, you can no longer afford to do both. Welcome to the wake-up call. Why is it that the harder you work, the further the finish line seems to move? There is a quiet, invisible predator at play in the 2026 economy, one that the mainstream media refuses to name because their advertisers are the ones feeding it. In the high-velocity markets of today, we call it lifestyle creep, but that term is too soft. I prefer to call it the invisible tax on ambition. Think about your last win: a promotion, a successful side hustle, a tax refund. Notice how the system had a bucket waiting for that money before it even hit your account? A slightly more premium apartment, a newer EV with a higher monthly lease, a platinum subscription tier for services you barely use. The hidden truth? Most of these upgrades aren't for your comfort. They are for the algorithms. We have entered the era of predictive consumption. AI systems now study your spending habits with such precision that they know exactly when you feel wealthy enough to be exploited. They trigger your desire for status precisely when you have the capital to invest, siphoning that capital away before it can ever be turned into a productive asset. While the top 1% are quietly moving their capital into AI infrastructure, private credit, and hard assets, they are feeding you the dream of luxury on a 72-month installment plan. They want you to own a collection of things that depreciate the moment you touch them, while they own the systems that produce them. In the US today, every $600 car payment isn't just $600. When you factor in the opportunity cost of 2020 SIXS market returns, that luxury SUV is actually costing you 6 months of your early retirement. You aren't just spending currency, you are spending your freedom. The system isn't broken. It is working exactly as designed. It is designed to keep you in a state of high-income poverty, where you earn a lot but own nothing. To escape the trap, you have to understand the mechanics of the cage. And the cage is built on a fundamental flaw in how we were taught to handle money. The playbook you were handed at birth is dead. Our parents and grandparents lived in an era where the formula was simple. Go to a good school, secure a stable corporate job, buy a suburban home, and faithfully contribute to a 401k for 40 years. In the 20th century, that was a roadmap to the middle class. In 2026, it is a purely packaged trap. The systemic flaw in the modern economy is that we have been conditioned to be consumers before we are producers. We are taught to trade our most valuable, non-renewable resource, time, for a currency that is being devalued by the second, only to spend that currency on garbage that loses 20% of its worth the moment you sign the receipt. Look at the divergence in the data. Since the early 2020s, real wages for the average American have moved like a flat line, while the cost of looking successful, the housing, the vehicles, the high-end electronics, has skyrocketed by over 300%. We are trapped in a cycle of debt-funded vanity. When you sign for a home with a 7% interest rate just because it's in a prestigious zip code, you aren't an owner. You are a glorified tenant of the banking system. When you use buy now, pay later schemes for clothes or tech, you are literally wearing your shackles in public. The flaw isn't in your income level. It's in your financial identity. You have been programmed by a century of advertising to believe that your human worth is tied to the items you possess. But in the 2026 owner economy, your worth is tied exclusively to what you control. If you do not own the assets that produce the goods people consume, if you only own the goods themselves, you are at the very bottom of the food chain. Period. The elites aren't smarter than you. They just stopped playing the status game decades ago. They transitioned from being the prey to being the architects. To join them, you must first survive the psychological warfare that is currently being waged against your bank account. Let's talk about the fear of missing out. In the United States, FOMO isn't just a social media trend. It is a multi-billion-dollar psychological weapon optimized by the most advanced AI on the planet. You see your neighbor pull into their driveway with a new $90,000 SUV. You scroll through Instagram and see a friend from college on a spontaneous luxury getaway to a private villa. In that moment, your brain doesn't see a financial decision. It sees a status threat. Your ancient, tribal instinct triggers a fear that you are falling behind, that you are being deranked in the tribe. And that is exactly when the trap springs. We are hardwired for status. In the wild, being at the bottom of the tribe meant you were the last to eat and the first to die. Today, corporations use that ancient survival instinct to manipulate your limbic system. They make you buy things you don't even like, with money you don't even have, to impress people you don't even know. You aren't buying that $1,500 smartphone for the titanium frame or the 8K camera. You are buying the social permission to belong to the successful class. But here is the Prosperity Prism reality check. True status in 2026 is the quiet power to walk away from any job, any boss, or any situation you hate. True status is having 5 years of living expenses sitting in liquid, income-producing assets while everyone around you is one missed paycheck away from total collapse. The truly wealthy in America understand one fundamental rule: silence is loud. The billionaires I've studied don't wear loud logos, they wear quality. They don't drive the car that screams for attention, they drive the car that provides the best utility. They don't need a vehicle to tell the world they have money, because they have the confidence of a massive, diversified portfolio. Are you brave enough to look broke while you are actually becoming wealthy? Because that is the final psychological barrier. If you can survive the judgment of people who are secretly drowning in debt, you have already won the game. Now, we stop talking about the problem. We start talking about the strategy. Welcome to the pivot. From this exact second forward, we are shifting your financial identity from a high-end consumer to a calculated allocator. At Prosperity Prism, we don't believe in saving just for the sake of hoarding cash. We believe in the 1-to-1 wealth ratio. For every single dollar that leaves your pocket for a want, a dinner out, a new gadget, a pair of sneakers, $1 must simultaneously go into an income-producing asset. If you cannot afford to buy two of them, you cannot afford to buy one. Period. The great 2026 wealth transfer is happening through efficiency. We are moving away from the dead capital of the 20th century and into high-velocity assets. We are looking at AI-automated cash flow businesses, decentralized credit markets, and recession-proof industrial real estate. But you cannot play that game if your capital is trapped in a leather seat or a limited edition hoodie. The pivot requires you to become a strategist. You must begin to look at your bank statement the way a general looks at a battlefield. Every single dollar in your account is a soldier. Are your soldiers out there on the front lines, fighting to capture more territory and bring back more soldiers? Or are they being slaughtered in the aisles of a shopping mall? The wealthiest people in the U.S. market right now aren't saving money, they are rerouting it. They have identified the leaks in their personal economy and plugged them with iron. They have realized that in an era of high inflation, cash is trash, but cash flow is king. In the next segment, I am going to give you the 3 most dangerous categories of financial trash you need to cut immediately to fund your liberation. This is where the top 1% separates from the crowd. If you want to join them, you need to be willing to do what they do, while everyone else does what they're told. The theory ends here. It's time for the blueprint. If you want to build a fortress in 2026, you must first stop the bleeding. There are 3 specific wealth leaks that are currently draining your potential. We're going to name them, shame them, and cut them. We have moved into an economy of microtransactions. $15 for a streaming service, $30 for a gym you don't visit, $10 for premium cloud storage. On their own, they seem harmless, but combined, they represent recurring leverage against your freedom. In the U.S., the average professional is paying over $900 a month in invisible subscriptions. That is $10,800 a year that could be buying fractional ownership in an AI growth ETF. Look at your statement tonight. If you haven't used it in 30 days, kill it. In 2026, a new vehicle is not a machine. It is a depreciating computer on wheels. The moment you drive it off the lot, you lose 20% of your equity. You are essentially paying a 20% stupidity tax for a new car smell that lasts 6 weeks. The top 1% buy assets that appreciate. The 99% buy liabilities that require insurance, maintenance, and high-interest debt. If your car payment is more than 10% of your take-home pay, you are literally driving away from your retirement. Sell the ego. Buy the utility. We are living in the age of the delivery economy. Uber Eats, DoorDash, Instacart. You are paying a 30% to 50% premium on your basic survival needs just to save 20 minutes of effort. In a high-inflation environment, this is financial suicide. You are trading your future wealth for the luxury of not leaving your couch. The data is clear. An average U.S. household can reclaim nearly $2,000 a month simply by optimizing these 3 categories. That is $24,000 a year. Invested at a conservative 8% return, that becomes $500,000 over 15 years. Now that we've plugged the leaks, it's time to talk about leverage. The top 1% don't just save money. They understand a concept that the middle class is never taught in school: the velocity of capital. While the average person is happy to let their money sit in a 4% savings account, losing real purchasing power to 2020 SIXS shadow inflation. The elite are looking for ways to make every dollar do the work of 10. In this segment, we are moving beyond basic budgeting and into the architect's playbook. There are 2 advanced strategies you need to master to accelerate your journey to the top. Most people view debt as a burden. The elite view it as a tool. In the U.S., the 99% use consumer debt to buy things that lose value. The 1% use corporate debt to buy things that create value. If you have a low-interest mortgage or a business line of credit, do not be in a rush to pay it off with devaluing dollars. Instead, use that cheap capital to acquire high-yield assets that return 12% to 15%. This is called positive carry, and it is the primary engine of modern wealth creation. You don't get rich by what you earn, you get rich by what you keep. In 2026, the tax code is written for business owners, not employees. If you are earning a high salary but don't own a legal entity, like an LLC or an S-corp, to hold your investments, you are voluntarily giving away 30% of your life's work to the government. By structuring your side hustle or your portfolio as a business, you unlock the ability to deduct your life's expenses, your phone, your internet, your travel, as business necessities. Think about the shift. You move from being a taxpayer to being a tax strategist. This isn't about evading taxes. It's about using the laws exactly as they were written for the people who build the economy. The advanced play requires you to stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like a chief executive. Your personal life is a company. Your income is the revenue. Your investments are the R&D. If you want to play at the highest level, you have to use the same equipment the big players use. I know what the skeptics are thinking. It's just $500 a month, or one luxury watch won't kill my future. Let's stop talking in theories and start talking in math. Because math has no ego, and math never lies. Let's look at two hypothetical individuals in this 2026 economy, the consumer and the architect. The consumer earns a great salary, let's say $120,000 a year, but they are trapped in the status loop. They lease a brand new luxury SUV for $900 a month. They live in a premium downtown apartment that costs an extra $1,000 more than they actually need. They spend $400 a month on high-end dining and convenience taxes. To the outside world, they look like they've made it, but their net savings at the end of the month? Now, look at the architect. They earn the exact same $120,000, but they drive a reliable, 5-year-old car they've already paid off. They live in a comfortable but non-status neighborhood. By cutting out the financial trash we discussed, they have an extra $2,500 every single month. If the architect allocates that $2,500 into a diversified, high-yield 2026 portfolio, averaging a realistic 10% return, do you know where they are in just 10 years? They aren't just comfortable. They are sitting on over $500,000 in liquid capital, while the consumer is still working 60 hours a week just to pay for a car that is now worth $5,000. The architect has reached the escape velocity, where their money earns more than their labor. Think about that. The architect didn't work harder. They didn't get a lucky crypto moonshot. They simply understood the compound interest of sacrifice. They traded looking wealthy for 10 years to ensure they are permanently wealthy for the next 40. In the US, the difference between the rich and the wealthy is the time horizon. The rich think about the next weekend. The wealthy think about the next decade. The proof isn't in my words. It's in the compound interest tables. You can choose to be the person paying the interest or the person collecting it. But in 2026, you cannot be both. We are entering the most dangerous phase of the 2026 economic cycle. In a world of high-speed AI trading and 24/7 social media hype, a single mistake doesn't just cost you a few dollars. It can erase a decade of work in an afternoon. If you want to survive the next 24 months, you must avoid the 3 wealth killers that are currently hunting retail investors. Killer number 1, chasing the AI mirage. Everyone is looking for the next NVIDIA or the next game-changing token. But in 2026, the market is flooded with pump and dump schemes masquerading as technological breakthroughs. If you find yourself buying an asset because you saw a 15-second clip of an influencer screaming about it, you aren't investing. You are the liquidity for the people who got in 6 months ago. The smart money buys the boring infrastructure, the data centers and power grids, while the crowd buys the hype. Killer number 2, the liquidity trap. One of the biggest mistakes in the US right now is having zero war chest. If 100% of your net worth is tied up in your primary home and a volatile stock portfolio, you are one emergency away from being a forced seller. When the market dips, and it will, the forced seller is the one who loses everything to the person who has cash. In 2026, cash isn't trash, it is your shield. You must have 6 to 12 months of essential expenditure in a high-yield, liquid account to ensure you never have to sell your assets at a discount. Killer number 3, AI-driven fraud and scams. We are seeing a massive surge in deepfake finance. Scammers are now using AI to impersonate bank officials or even celebrity financial gurus to lure you into fake safe haven accounts. If an offer feels too good to be true, or if there is an artificial sense of urgency attached to it, hang up. The 2026 economy rewards the patient and punishes the desperate. Protecting your downside is just as important as growing your upside. You can be right 99% of the time, but if you leave yourself exposed to a black swan event, that 1% is all it takes to reset your clock to zero. Your portfolio is a fortress. Don't leave the gate open for the sake of a quick dopamine hit. Killer number 2, the liquidity trap. One of the biggest mistakes in the US right now is having zero war chest. If 100% of your net worth is tied up in your primary home and a volatile stock portfolio, you are one emergency away from being a forced seller. When the market dips, and it will, the forced seller is the one who loses everything to the person who has cash. In 2026, cash isn't trash, it is your shield. You must have 6 to 12 months of essential expenditure in a high-yield, liquid account to ensure you never have to sell your assets at a discount. Killer number 3, AI-driven fraud and scams. We have covered the traps. We have mapped out the blueprint. We have crunched the cold, hard math of the 2026 economy. But at the end of the day, this journey isn't just about digits on a screen or the balance in a brokerage account. It is about legacy. It is about being the one person in your family tree who had the courage to look at the normal way of life and say, no more. No more living for the weekend. No more being a debt slave to a system that views you as nothing more than a data point in a consumer index. No more acting rich while feeling the hollow anxiety of a bank account at zero. When you decide to stop buying financial trash, you aren't just saving money. You are reclaiming your autonomy. You are buying back the Tuesday afternoons you'll spend with your children 10 years from now. You are buying the peace of mind that comes from knowing that no matter what black swan event hits the 2026 market, your family is protected behind a fortress of assets. The path we've discussed today is lonely. Your friends will wonder why you aren't at the expensive dinners. Your neighbors will judge you for the car you drive. But remember, the 99% are living a scripted life. They are following the consumer playbook into a retirement of regret. You have chosen the prism perspective. You have chosen to see the world as it truly is, a battlefield of capital where the disciplined win and the distracted lose. This is your moment to pivot. The 2026 wealth transfer is happening now. You can either be a spectator or you can be an architect. If you found value in this deep dive, if you're ready to break the cycle and build something that outlasts you, then join the movement. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications for Prosperity Prism. We are more than a channel. We are a community of survivors in the new economy. Leave a comment below with the word architect if you are committing to cutting the trash and building your legacy starting today. The journey to the top 1% is long, but the view from the top is worth every sacrifice. I'm Prosperity Prism, and I'll see you in the next one.